What started out as just some silly interaction has evolved, growing into a full build with synergies upon synergies, but we start with humble beginnings. Salvation's Grip Grenade Launcher, a very unlikely candidate, and the Aspect Ascension. These don't really have anything to do with each other at face value, but when used together it's the perfect pairing. Target the area or enemies you want with Salvations, and then detonate with Ascension. Aside from the most important part of this combo being absolute cinema, the whole setup can actually be very effective too, with all the supporting options Prismatic has to offer. I will structure this as a build video, with the setup used being fantastic the most, but there are quite a few variations which can be made to suit your playstyle or just equipment you have access to, and I'll include some of these throughout too. And that all begins with the exotic armour. The class item I'm using in the gameplay clips was a combination of Foe Tracer and Coyote. Foe Tracer is maybe tweaking a little bit with this setup, but in a good way. If you shatter any Salvation's Grip crystals with an Ascension, and that shatter damage happens to tag a major or higher ranked enemy, this will count as stasis ability damage, giving follow-up Salvation's edge shots or any stasis kinetic slot weapon 25% bonus damage. Ascension itself is also an arc ability, which could lead to an arc energy weapon being preferred, as this will also benefit from this easy damage increase, but I will cover weapon options a little bit later. Coyote is to always have dodge charges available. There's a lot of ways for Prismatic to recharge Ascension very quickly, often more so than you can actually use them. Having somewhere for any excess energy to go is always a nice thing to have. As a build which is obviously spamming Ascension quite a lot, Gifted Conviction is the no-brainer alternative. In fact, in many ways this is probably the stronger choice, especially if you want to build into damage resistance. The only reason it wasn't my first choice is it's just not as fun, and I'm sure you've seen hundreds of Gifted Conviction builds at this point, but it definitely is effective. A more fun alternative can be Mask of Fealty. A lot of build options will be focused around status and slowing. Having improved shurikens is a huge plus here. Also, they do make status crystals which can also be shattered with Ascension. Even the exotic class items has some other options you may consider. Art of Inmost Light will cause grenade or charge melee usage to speed up the recharge rate of Ascension. Unfortunately, this in reverse is currently bugged, as Ascension isn't classed as a class ability for some reason. Even still, more Ascensions is good, and this is likely to be fixed in the future. Spirit of the Spider one, I'm not even going to attempt that, is underrated for survivability. 10 seconds of woven mail on grenade usage, and if done right can be chained pretty much forever. Notably, this does proc on transcendent grenades, so while that's active you will have easy access to woven mail, and this build gets transcendent energy pretty fast. Weapons. There's two weapons which are auto includes and a flex slot. The first auto include is of course Salvation's Grip. It's clear why, so instead I will offer some tech. Salvation's Grip doubles up as a ladder. If sneaky chests are just out of reach, you can scale the wall easily. Salvation's Grip gives lower spec consoles and PCs for fear. Instead of shattering just one set of stasis crystals, dump the entire mag into one spot and then use Ascension. I believe this doesn't cause hard crashes anymore, but I wouldn't be surprised. On a more gameplay applicable note, Salvation's Grip Catalyst offers some interesting considerations. It's Rhyme Stealer. With the amount of crystals generated, a well-placed regular grenade shot into them will easily provide max stacks of frost armor. Downside being you are expending 2 ammo with this combo, but there's times in which it can be more useful. But if you want the real tech, observe. The other auto include is a stasis chill clip weapon. The Nashor's Mastery is fantastic. This is because one of the main ways this build is going to get Ascension so quickly is through Winter Shroud, and a chill clip weapon alongside shurikens are the easiest ways of slowing down enemies on command. In the energy slot, this is where you can pick your favourites. For me, it's either Psycho Pump or Velocity Baton. Area denials are incredible ad clear, and you can even lay them down as a trap, then fire Salvation's Grip on top of it to instantly detonate crystals. Oh, also on the long list of ascension bugs, if you have Marksman's Dodge, all weapons will be reloaded on use, which kind of makes this like an auto-loading holster feature for area denials, which is just incredible. Psycho Pump can benefit from Spirit of Foe Tracer too, but its perk pool just isn't as strong as Baton's. However, I do actually like Rolling Storm on this, just to get Bolt Charge as an elemental buff, which will help with Facet of Hope recharging Ascension. Baton won't benefit as easily from Foe Tracer, I guess you could use Void Grenades, but it does generate a ludicrous amount of orbs. These orbs can provide sustain by a Facet of Purpose and a whole host of armor mods. Alternatively, here you can just use whatever weapon you want, with a slight nod to arc weapons if using Foe Tracer. Now then, the subclass. You won't believe this, but Ascension is bugged again. Winter's Shroud should slow nearby enemies upon class ability usage, but with Ascension it just simply doesn't. Wonderful. So why am I using this? Its secondary effect is a huge 300% class ability regen upon slowing an enemy, and this effect will still work with recharging Ascension thankfully. As slow is so easy to apply, and the only bottleneck to this build is how fast Ascension can be charged, this is still more than worth the aspect slot. By the way, if this interaction alongside the 10 billion other Ascension bugs are fixed at some point, this will unironically be one of the best builds in the game. I don't mean using Salvation's Grip, I mean more conventional weapons if you want to be a super serious meta slave. But no joke, the actual basis of this build will be very busted, even with -2 fragment slots. Outside of aspects, I'll list off the other build parts a bit quicker. Super Shadow Shot. 2 reasons. First, it enables Facet of Purpose to provide Void Overshields on all pickup. This is the best option for survivability. Also, tethered enemies into a Salvation's Grip combo is disgusting and hilarious. It results in very funky physics at least half the time. With a dodge, Marksman. This is bugged, I know, no way right. With Ascension to reload all weapons in one go. Very importantly though, it has the lowest cooldown. Melee Shuriken. Very important for applying slow, and you can rarely spam these during Transcendence. Grenade for Grapple. This isn't a must, I just quite like the grapple. Void Grenades can be used if using Baton. Duskfield Grenades can be another slow source, but I think this is overkill and Duskfields kinda suck. Fragments, there's a few critical and a few flex, for when the Nerf Reaper comes for Hunters yet again when the Edge of Fate releases. The critical ones is Hope, Command and Purpose. Hope gives you 40% extra class ability usage with 1 elemental buff and 60% with 2. Ascension gives Amplified, so that's the 1 requirement covered at all times. Then the second can be anything. Bolt Charge, Void Overshield and Radiant are probably the most accessible. Command reloads your equipped weapons upon freezing a target. This gives Salvation's Grip and Tenacious Mastery a bottomless mag as long as you have the ammo. Purpose is the one which gives a Void Overshield on all pickup. The flex picks are Dawn, Protection and Ruin. Dawn provides Radiant on any powered melee. Shurikens are quite plentiful, which in turn gives a lot of Radiant uptime for more weapon damage and an easy second elemental buff. Protection provides a 15% damage resist when surrounded by 3 or more enemies. Ruin increases shatter damage, which sounds really great, but the increase is actually quite minimal, so this may be the one which gets the cut, and likely protection too. Finally, armor setups and artifact support. When choosing stats, a common problem with Hunter is you have to spec into mobility to get the lowest cooldowns on class ability. However, Amplified, which this build provides with 100% uptime passively gives you 50 mobility. So you only have to make up the first 50 with stat distribution, anything over that is technically wasted. This gives you more freedom to spec into likely Resil and either Recover or Discipline. After Edge of Fate, who cares? As to the armor mods themselves, get ready for a shocker. Ascension is bugged, and not working with the following: Powerful Attraction, Reaper and Distribution. On top of this, weapon surges are covered by Foe Tracer, so you can go a little bit into the obscure with mods. On the class item, I like to run Special Ammo Finisher and Time Dilation as well, mainly because everything else just doesn't function. Boots, recuperation is almost a must for orb restoration. If you're using a non-arc energy weapon, use the other 2 slots on surges. Alternatively, if you are, you can use Stasis Scavenger. Chest piece, reserve mods, the usual. Gloves, you can do a combination of bolstering detonation and focusing strike, these both giving class ability energy on grenade and melee usage respectively. Also, run heavy-handed for additional orb gem. No reload is needed because we won't be reloading. Helmet, the standard weapon siphon matching your equipped weapons is completely fine. If you have room, heavy ammo finder is great. Artifact doesn't have the biggest benefit to this build, which is fine as the upcoming more status focused one looks to do a lot more. But for now, these are helpful. Dielectric will give bolt charge on any arc debuff target defeated. Since Ascension jolts, this will be most enemies. This alone can provide 2 elemental buffs at all times. If using this, it makes sense to use it with flashover and defibrillating blast, which together cause bolt charges to do increased damage and restore health. Dreadful Finisher and Lead from Gold will together help out with ammo economy. And that's the lot. What have we learned today? Mainly that Ascension is incredibly bugged. But even through all of that, this build is actually a lot of fun, and you should be sure to give it a go. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, even like and sub maybe. I've also got a Discord if you want to tell me how stupid this whole thing is. Thank you for watching.